Hi, I'm Steve Garrett, and I want to talk to you a little bit about speeches at RYLA. Particularly, I want to talk to you about Rotarians giving a speech, and the topic of the speech is a leadership topic that our young RYLA participants ought to hear about. And who better than somebody who's a member of Rotary, especially one of the clubs in your district, to talk about this? And it has to do with purpose, having a purpose in life, having a purpose in your organization, having a purpose in what you do. And let me give you an example of an organization that has a purpose. It's called the United States of America. And the very beginning of the Constitution of the United States of America says that the reason we're writing this Constitution is to create a more perfect union, to establish justice, to ensure domestic tranquility, to provide for the common defense, and promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. Now there's a good purpose. There's a purpose that is well defined, and maybe that's too grandiose for you. So let's try something a little closer to home. The object of Rotary, which is sort of the mission statement, but it's certainly the purpose of Rotary.
The object of Rotary is to encourage and foster the ideal of service as a basis of worthy enterprise and, in particular, to encourage and promote. First, the development of acquaintance as an opportunity for service. Second, high ethical standards in business and professions, the recognition of the worthiness of all useful occupations, and the dignifying of each Rotarian's work as an opportunity to serve society. Third, the application of the ideal of service in each Rotarian's personal, business, and community life. Fourth, the advancement of international understanding, goodwill, and peace through a world fellowship of business and professional persons united in the ideal of service.
So we have a couple of experiences of organizations that we belong to that have purpose statements. And, there was a guy who was really the first of all the motivational speakers, a guy named Napoleon Hill 100 years ago. And all the motivational speakers of today basically take Napoleon Hill's books, Grow, Be Successful, and they take offshoots of it. And he had a really interesting commentary at one time.
During the past 14 years, I have analyzed more than 16,000 men and women. It was discovered that 95% of all who were analyzed were failures, and 5% were successes. By the term failure is meant that they had failed to find happiness in the ordinary necessities of life without a struggle that was almost unbearable. One of the most startling facts brought to light by those 16,000 analyses was the discovery that the 95% who were classed as failures were in that class because they had no definite chief aim in life, while the 5% constituting the successful ones not only had purposes that were definite, but they had, also, definite plans for the attainment of their purposes. Another important fact disclosed by these analyses was that the 95% constituting the failures were engaged in work which they did not like, while the 5% constituting the successful ones were doing that which they liked best. It is doubtful whether a person could be a failure while engaged in work which he liked best.
And a good example of somebody who took Napoleon Hill's 14 points and turned it into the 7 habits of highly successful people was Stephen Covey. Stephen Covey wrote a book, The 7 Habits of Highly Successful People, and one of the points that he made in that book was to begin with the end in mind. And I'm not going to go over the whole thing with you, but I'll tell you, it's a good resource if you want to write a speech on purpose. Not to mention Napoleon Hill's a good resource, but you can find a lot of examples. I've mentioned it another time. You can go on YouTube and search and find a lot of people who have talked about this, and you can create a great speech from it. It wouldn't be right, though, to give a speech like that and and not end with a thought. And I use Rick Warren as a guide in this particular thought. And here's what Rick had to say.
And I began to think about what I call the stewardship of affluence and the stewardship of influence. So I believe essentially leadership is stewardship. That if you are a leader in any area, in business, in politics, in sports, in art, in academics, in any area, you don't own it. You are a steward of it. For instance, that's why I believe in protecting the environment. This is not my planet. It wasn't mine before I was born. It's not going to be mine after I die. I'm just here for 80 years, and that's it.
So Rick is right. It's a stewardship thing. It's and that's the message we want to give our young RYLA participants, that there's a reason to have a purpose, and there's a reason to be a leader, and to be a leader becomes a steward of other people's futures, because you're going to influence them. And we brought you here as RYLA participants to encourage you, not only to encourage you to develop your own purpose in life, your own mission statement in life, but to encourage you to then go out and encourage the people that you want to lead to have purpose and lead for that purpose. Those are my thoughts. I'm Steve Garrett. Thanks for listening.